it's like less healthy for them. You pay more for just egg whites. You're wasting $1.25 every time you go out to eat.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's RichAirRunaway.com. This is the Long Run Project. It's Tuesday. We're checking in. I'm here with my good buddy, Dr. Chris Garino. Chris, how's it going, bud? How you doing?
Yo, Rich. Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Just as always, another typical hot, steamy day down here in the 405. But, we got the air conditioner pumping, and we're trying to make it work. So it's all
nice.
Good. Yeah. So how was everything? How'd you make out with the MRI? What's the verdict?
Not too bad, not too good. So right down the middle, I'd say. Got some patellar tendonitis, got a bursitis, which I think is probably from the fat pad, and then I got a partially torn ACL, which is the worst of it, but could be worse. No meniscus damage, no fully torn ACL, which is good and is tough to recover from without surgery. So just gonna do conservative rehab. Got my good friends. It's good to be a PT and know a bunch of people that can help you out. So they'll be treating me. And, hopefully be back on the road /trail/ocean, in the next, 2 to 3 months. That's my timeline. So we'll see what happens, but keep you posted.
Right on. I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm glad you got some answers and you can treat yourself and have some of your fellow colleagues work on you as well and get you back up and running as quickly as possible. With your... Of the three things that you have going on, which one do you feel is causing you the most issue?
It's funny because, I was telling my buddies, because all my buddies were they were trying to diagnose it, and they're like, oh, what is it? Tell us when you know. And all three, so if anybody's ever had any of these three, all three are painful. So pain is probably the worst part, is probably the most issues, just not being able to move a certain way without thinking you're going to be in pain, or trying to limit, what I tell my patients is, try to limit all the irritating factors. But it's not as easy as it sounds, where if you're just I don't know if moving my leg like this is going to hurt this time, because last time I moved it like this, it didn't hurt, but the time before I did, it did hurt. So all in all, I think they all kind of work together to cause me an issue. Just a little bit of, maybe every once in a while, a little instability. But really, if I I could get a day without a ton of pain, that's probably the goal, is to just limit the pain at first. Because then once the pain's gone, because you want to stay out of the pain range, and but once the pain's gone, then it's I can start progressively loading it and get a little bit more activity in there, and then that's kind of where you are able to feel you can stress the muscles a little bit. Whereas if you're in pain all the time, you can't really load much, because if you're just putting more stress on that injury, you're just kind of feeding into that injury, and you're never really letting it fully heal. So I'm kind of in that phase where it's kind of a waiting phase, where you're kind of the damage is done, the cartilage and everything, the tissue is rebuilding. But you have to wait. It's not. There's nothing you can do to speed it up. I tell my patients all the time, there's nothing you can really do to speed up ligament healing faster. It's really just a time thing, and it's a cycle that your body just goes through and builds. It's just building until it's ready, and then as it's building, you do little things in a pain-free range that help reform and restructure that collagen and that ligament getting built back onto itself. So. I'm at that reform, restructuring phase, which is if you want to break it into 4 phases, it's about phase 3 out of 4. So, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And with the tendonitis and the bursitis, that's typically something that just, no matter where it is on your body, it's just a matter of resting and letting it kind of calm down, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of ways to kind of treat it and look at it. I mean, a bursitis and a tendonitis, it has to do with a lot of soft tissue structures around it. So, maybe maybe I have my left glute's a little bit weaker than my right glute, and when I was running and jumping a lot more, I was loading my left side a little bit more, causing the patellar tendon to inflame. The bursitis could have been, I don't know what the bursitis is from. It could have been the same thing, or it just could have been from that initial kind of twisting and twisting on my knee and kind of like just setting out that, like, because you can get your fat pad is directly underneath your patellar tendon, so you can impinge that sometimes, and that could cause inflammation. So there's so many different mechanisms of how this can affect you. But yeah, I mean, you let that stuff clear up, but there's a lesson out there for everybody, where is if you're getting some kind of patellar tendonitis or a tendonitis of any sort in any part of your body, your mechanics in what you're doing are probably compromised in one way or another. So that's where you come in as a coach, Rich, and that's where, good coaches out there and good, whether it be strength coaches, whether it be running, swimming, volleyball, doesn't even matter, ping pong, I mean, like, I like bringing up ping pong on this podcast, I guess. So
it is an Olympic year.
Yes. But, it's all about mechanics. So you were just telling me off air, basically, a girl that you've been coaching, she's having some elbow issues. I mean, maybe that elbow issue's coming from one of her lifts, one of the techniques she's doing. Maybe she's doing a little bit more outside the gym. That's she's not even paying attention to. Maybe she's just gardening more. She's playing tennis or golf or something, and she's got some other kind of factor outside the gym that's causing that overuse aspect of that tendon and causing the inflammation. So, but it all typically will come down to mechanics, and fixing those mechanics, kind of that root cause, will take it away and keep it away. You can rest, you can use ibuprofen, and it'll clear up. But if you're not really getting to the root cause, it's just going to come back and get you one at a later time.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, do you think those two were pre-existing slightly? Maybe not that causing you pain, and that was maybe caused some sort of weakness that caused the partial tear.
Yeah, I think I think I had so if you have a longer standing, and I think the PT world and sports medicine world is trying to get away from like a tendinosis type of terminology. They're trying to move it towards a tendinopathy, and it's a cycle. So not to get too like in depth into it, but a tendinopathy can be a tendinitis, which is an acute type of injury, and then a tendinosis is more of a chronic, where the tendon itself starts getting thicker. So if you ever noticed anybody with like an Achilles tendinitis and it's chronic, you can notice if you look at them from the back, their Achilles looks thicker on one side versus the other. So, with that being said, I think I had some patellar like tendinosis. I mean, I've never had an injury on my knee that took me out of running. But as a runner, you run through some things,
sure.
And you kind of just like, say you're getting ready for a bigger race, you just kind of like take it with the training, and maybe you just keep yourself together. And obviously, if your times aren't being compromised and you're running at a high level still, and maybe you got little aches and pains here and there, yeah, you just kind of run through them. If your times are going down and you got pain at night, you got pain during the day, like obviously you need to reassess what you're doing. But so I'd run through some stuff here and there, and at the beginning of this year, I wasn't in the best shape. I wasn't really running a ton, and I started training with Claire for the trials. And for me being, my thoughts was, I'm just going to jump into her training. I'm really going to just help her for her workouts, because I think that's what she needs the most. And I'm just going to try to keep like a lower base and just do her workouts with her, and then obviously just keep her company on her long runs. So almost like put me in like a weekend warrior situation, where maybe I'm getting 15 miles during the week, maybe a little more than that, maybe 15, 20 miles during the week, but on the weekend, we were getting in sometimes 30 miles plus over the weekend, where, or we were doing like long run tempos where we'd get like 23 miles in, and I wasn't ready for that. I mean, I was coming off of the holidays, I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, a little holiday weight, I mean, so I've definitely lasted for, a few months. Like, the trials was like mid-February, so we started probably around the holidays, and I really jumped into training kind of late. She had built a base up, she was fit, and I think that, like, I had a little bit of patellar tendinosis, so which is the chronic kind of. So I had that, and I was kind of running through some of that stuff, and probably compromising myself a little bit, and then so. Gist of it, looking back, I did a marathon training cycle. Didn't end up running a marathon, so I was like, shit, I didn't run a marathon. I can start training. Like, I don't care. Like, I'll just start training. So that week, I took maybe a couple days off after the trials, and I just was like, all right, I'm going to start lifting heavy again. I'm going to start jumping, and I probably started everything up. It wasn't a good, decision for me to just kind of go into that. And so looking back on it, there was probably some pre-existing stuff that could have compromised me. Now the way the injury happened, as far as like probably the ACL and maybe the bursa, I think that probably happened in that one kind of acute type of, like, that one blunt kind of force where I was kicking that soccer ball, and then probably re-exacerbated when I fell hiking. But other than that, like, so I think for the most part, I mean, I was telling you before, I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling pretty strong. I'm taking it easy, being patient with it, and kind of gave myself a good timeline. So hopefully by the end of the year, I may have to skip out on the Hodges 50K, unfortunately. But hey, there's plenty of races to get after, and I think that's our main. It's a good segue for us, probably, to get into some of our favorite races. It's like we're like professionals at this.
Yeah, and that I was just gonna say, that's you're in a good area where there's plenty of trail races in that area, and road races for that matter, where if you miss one, Paul Jesse, the guy that puts on the race, he has another one. He does the San Diego Trail Marathon and the San Diego 50, and it's just after the New Year in the beginning of January, and it's on the same course pretty much. The 50's
nice.
The 50's different, but the marathon is basically it's on the same trail. So
nice.
Like, you go up and over Raptor Ridge and all that stuff. They just the start and finish is at the other end, so the turnaround it's flipped.
Nice.
But,
it's like home base for me, man.
Yeah, it's a good little spot, and I mean that's and again kind of leads us into today with the favorite places to run and favorite races. Where we were in San Elijo Hills, it's literally you could run right from our door and get on a trailhead and disappear for 20 plus miles if you wanted to, and not very quickly forget that you were in the thick of things in suburbia and up in North County, San Diego.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's one thing I miss from moving from that place, is being able to walk out the door and just run any direction and get on a trail within 5 minutes of running, and that's a great feeling. There's not many places like that, around here. Like, if you live in Carlsbad or Encinitas, you got the Lagoon. I mean, there's so many good running places around here, but it's like where we were in San Elijo. It just links up to Elephant Forest, and you could just kind of just go, and like you said, you just forget about it. I had probably some of my favorite runs in San Diego. I think also because not a lot of people still know about it. It's kind of like a hidden little gem. You can get out on the trails. You may see one or two other people. I mean, Claire and I have run. I mean, this is probably getting a little too deep if people don't know what we're talking about. But we did Quest Haven, and we would run Quest Haven out to like the Way Up Trail, and back home, which is a good run. It was like 2+ hours, and we sometimes didn't see anyone, but we maybe see some bikers on the road cruising down like the Harmony Grove, but we may not see anyone else on the trail that whole time. That's rare. You go over to Solana and go over to like the golf course in Rancho Santa Fe, and you go over to the lagoon that connects it. It's like you're gonna